Hey guys, welcome to Leetcode Along. Leetcode Along is a channel in which we solve programming puzzles typically found on interviews for big tech companies. So if that sounds interesting, do subscribe. Today we'll be solving probably the most common Leetcode problem. It's the first question on Leetcode. It's called two-sum. In the question we have an array of integers called nums and an integer target. We have to return the indices of the two numbers such that they add up to the target. We can assume that there's only one solution and we can't use the same element twice. Let's see an example. We have an array nums and a target, which is an integer. We could go about this by going through two for loops. The first for loop would hit 2, and then you have another for loop to hit all the other values while we check if they add up to the target. If they do, we return the value. If they don't, then we move on to the next for loop. But this would take two for loops, and that means our time complexity would be O of n squared. And that's not good enough for two-sum. We're trying to have O of n. So what is the best case in the case of two-sum? It's a hash map. A hash map is nothing but key value pairs, and the advantage of using a hash map is that it has a constant lookup time. Let's see what the key and value pairs would be in our case in the two-sum problem. The key would be the values in nums, and the values would be the indices. The one case that we have to be careful of is if one number repeats 2 times in the array, and in that case we have to check if they add up to the target, and if they do, we can directly return the indices without adding both of them to the hash map. So this has to be done before we add the number into the hash map. We also have to make sure that the indices of the two numbers that we return are not the same, so we could do that before we return the value while checking it in a hash map. So let's start coding this. So let's start by defining the nums map, which is basically just a dictionary, but it's actually a hash map. Python dictionary is essentially your hash maps. I equals 0, this is a way of keeping track of our index value. This is a for loop. So if the nums map already has the key target minus num, then we could just return I and the value of the key target minus num. I messed it up. Yep, and then I, which is the current index that we're at. But if not, then we could just add nums map at num would be I. So we're not one I. And then we could increment I by 1 because we're moving to the next number. Now once we do have all the values, we could go to for value and index in nums map dot items. Then say if nums map target or nums map dot has key target minus value, test key, I'm sorry. Target minus value. Then we should also check if the indices are not the same. So if nums map at value is not equal to nums map at target minus value, then we could just return nums map at value and nums map at target minus value, and that basically should sum up the solution. So let's run this once and check if our test case is passed. Yes, it does. Let's submit it and see if yep, that solves the two-sum problem. So if that sounds good, please subscribe and make sure to watch more videos.